Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm feeling good, I'm switched on. I think that's slang for being horned up. I apologize. I'm ready to go. This is an interesting start. VDX2K3JQ. That's probably a library. That's what's giving me hope right now. Nothing's too bad about this run. But we're only 1.5 brain farts away from being in a very dangerous situation. So this being a good book would be very nice. I mean, we're gonna get Bookworm. All we need is one more key, and that'll give us Bookworm. That's worth a lot. We can get there. We're gonna take our time on this one. This is one of those ones you gotta nurture like a baby bird. You know, you gotta make sure you're doing your best. The other avenue for success here is we get a good pill. That was a really, really dangerous moment there. I felt every, like, nerve in my body fire and every muscle in my core tense up simultaneously there. Some bombs. Not unhelpful. But we gotta play our game properly early on here. Especially, like, Curse of the Darkness on the burning basement is basically like, I get it, you hate me. I get it, it's cool, like, you know, you could just, like, hate me or whatever and give me the curse of being unable to see anything at all, really. I'd like it if you just passed away there, thank you. Thought about using a bomb, probably should have, honestly, you don't want to get too precious with it. What book are we going to take long-term? Because I think that as much as I enjoy the idea of, like, placebo balls of steel. This guy just said he enjoys balls. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. No, I meant Balls of Steel. The, Josh Gad movie about ping pong. Is that Josh Gad? Also, that's called Balls of Fury. My mistake. Yo, that's a great, shop ability for us here. Let's try this. Okay, restock for 7 cents is pretty great. Also gives us a 2 of spades. Pretty great. Let's buy one more spirit heart, and then one more spirit heart, and we're all having a good time here. So 2 of spades does allow us, without a doubt. Oh, that's not great. That's not great. It's no longer great. 2 of spades does allow us to get the book we wanted. I think we'd probably roll Book of Shadows. Having Book of Shadows would, yeah, I think we'll do it right away, too. There were pills there, so it was getting a little bit interesting to try placebo. And I really think there is a good placebo run in here somewhere. If you're willing to take a couple of maybe speed and tears downgrades, which I don't think I am. I want to play this one right because it feels like it's been a long time since I played one right. So I actually like using the one key there because we still have 2 of spades. Let me out, please. Which means we're not going to waste a key right here. Just getting this stuff. This is a little bit, perhaps, unnecessary, but I like it. But how are we going to get out with Book of Shadows? Okay, so we will have to pop a 2 of spades. But that's okay. That's okay. Otherwise, we would have been trapped in there forever. So we must have accidentally used the spacebar on this before, but we should still be completely fine for our boss fight. And this is, it's better. It's not sorted yet, but it's better. And really, this run, it doesn't need too much more. Like, some red hearts is kind of like the obvious thing that we need. But our damage stat is pretty good. Bookworm helps out, you know, decently. Not a ton. I'll go so far as to... Look, everything, when you rate things... They're rated by a composite aggregate of how everybody in the community feels about something, right? So in general, you're not gonna rate things properly that often. You're always gonna be a little bit higher or a little bit lower or way higher or way lower than the community, but the rest of the community average is gonna, you know, put you where you want to be. I can't believe I let myself get hit there. I think, personally, I think Bookworm is overrated by the community. But I do think I mean, it was worth getting. We invested in it back there for good reason. Here, I'd always love to see Magic Mush. That's just kind of a gimme. Tears or HP, please? Sure, that's fine. HP and luck? Why not? Why not? And I gotta say, we're on a pretty good run here. I'm feeling a little bit more confident today than I did yesterday. Let's see if we can make this come to pass. We do still have 2 bombs. You know, we should save 1 bomb for our for the possibility of a tinted rock on this floor. But I do suffer DPS-wise right now. Thank God we had Champion Belt as one of our starting items. Could you just move into the fire here? I placed it there for you. I'm trying to think. I hope we have Pin next. Because our fight against Dingle is kind of slowing us down. Not that I'm worried at all about... Oh, there we go. Not that I'm worried at all about making boss rush at this point in my life. We got no need for that. I very nearly got hit there. Okay, Steven, that's fine. Dude, I'm going to be honest. Also, you're not Steven. You're Gemini, but, you know. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Please come this way. Just you almost got into it. Okay, whatever. It is what it is. Was this worth it? We got 2 Spirit Hearts out of it. I think we're going to immediately leverage one of those to go to the Spirit Heart and just try to... Or to go to the Curse Room. Sorry, it is still pretty early. You can tell by the voice crack. It's pretty early over here, despite this being the second run of the day. Hey, what did I tell you? That would have been... honestly, having Placebo would be pretty sick right now. This is a weird one. I think you probably go for Dark Matter first. It is a worse item, but still good. So why take that first? Because we're gonna get a deal with the devil on this floor anyway, so we can just pick up Goat Head later if we got the HP. And what's more useful for us? Goat Head over this floor or Dark Matter over this floor? Is Dark Matter. I don't know if that necessarily is a good enough reason to go for it, but that's what we're gonna do. Sure, I'll try Hemolacria. Our rate of fire is gonna be absolutely horrendous. And I do recognize... I'm trying to be analytical here. The last time we gave up a good item for the D6, it did leave our run in shambles. However, we all recognize the D6 is a pretty good item. I wouldn't give up, like, Book of Revelations for it anymore, for sure, but I think giving up Book of Shadows for it is okay. And, moreover, you can't... You know, Isaac is a game of kind of... chances. It's a game of probabilities. There's a chance if you give up Lemon Mishap for the D6, it's not going to end up being the right decision. But it's a low percentage chance. So we gotta play our odds. Just because D6, you know, didn't necessarily pay out with its expected yield last time, that doesn't mean that the whole item is cursed. It just means, you know, I played it wrong, or we hit that kind of edge case, you know? So I'm not sweating it at all. I'm actually like, I mean, that doubled our rate of fire. Well, no, it cut it by a third, which is, or raised it by a third, which is good. But I think we're just gonna move on here. We got stuff that we were looking for. The run looks very good, but now we do have, I mean, we still had the HP problem on the last floor. We just had a lot of Spirit Hearts to counteract it, but we didn't have renewable HP. I would dump the D6 for Book of Revelations in a heartbeat, but this one's looking pretty solid. We got there. We didn't do anything. You know, this is not a Sully situation where we, you know, a goose got stuck in the engine and we put this bad boy down in the Hudson River. This is really like, as of right now, pretty much a routine domestic flight from Newark to Los Angeles, you know? It might end up being a long flight because that's, you know, the length of the route. But so far, we're kind of just chilling and, I don't know, we might even be eating an in-flight meal. Probably not. I bet on a 5-hour flight, the pilot... Well, I don't know. The pilot might eat a meal during a 5-hour flight. I mean, 5 hours is a reasonable length of time. I'm always freaked out by the fact Did you know, like, I mean, it's better this way. And again, I can't stress enough that, like, safety regulations in the aviation industry are, like, the reason that... I hate to sound ignorant here, but it's like the reasons you don't hear about plane crashes all that often. You still do hear about them, but I mean, if you go back to, like, the history of major aviation accidents in America and or North America and Europe, between, like, the 1950s and even, like, the early 1990s, planes were dropping out of the sky, like, once a month, you know? There's still, like, your odds were still good, because there's still, like, hundreds of thousands or at least tens of thousands of flights daily, but I think we do take this. But I say this not to make you scared of flying, quite the opposite. If you look at the, you know, since, like, 2010, I don't know if there has been a major airline fatality in North America. Maybe I will say one person did die in the Asiana scuffed landing at SFO, but didn't they get hit by, like, an emergency response vehicle after landing? I don't mean to make light of it. It's a tragic situation. Anyway, there's always one of those times where I go, well, it's 2020 and I have a 7-day backlog. Let's start the timer and hope that there's not a catastrophic disaster before this video goes up. Not just because it would make me look bad, but because, you know, I always hope against a disaster in the first place because I'm not a sociopath. Okay, here we go. We know we're getting the deal with the devil. Our item room gave us the fuel to survive that deal with the devil, but... yeah, I didn't know until I looked it up that, like, on long flights, like flights over 8 hours long, they actually carry, like, a completely doubled set of crew, and then they basically swap halfway, you know, over the Pacific. That's cool. But I am also, like, do you think there's ever been a time that, you know, the second pilot took over for the first pilot and went, what the heck was this guy doing? We're so far away from our markers, and we burned way too much fuel. I don't know. It's going to be a struggle to get us out of this one. Probably not. I'm being honest with you. Probably not. I'm not trying to make you anxious about it. Again, it's not like many of y'all are flying in the next couple of weeks anyway. Hopefully. I don't know. I mean, if you have to fly for emergencies, I understand. I didn't know that you were an evil chest, but the luck upgrade actually is worth it, I think. We're in a really... I mean, you don't need me to tell you. This is, for all intents and purposes, this is a win right here. I do think that item is pretty good, but we can get a little funkier. Ooh, that item is great. Beautiful. I did see Vancouver Airport had to issue a warning because 2 passengers into British Columbia tested positive for the virus last week. It got me. I was like, who's flying? I don't get it. Who's taking the trip right now to Vancouver? Doesn't make any sense to me. But maybe I don't know. Maybe there was a good reason. Maybe it was Quinn Hughes coming back in for the NHL playoffs. I don't want to besmirch the good name of Quinn Hughes. I assume they probably fly chartered, so Quinn chartered. It's a little stream joke for you. All right, let's pop down Temperance. We got a good thing going here. It would be nice, like, Blood Bag would be fine, IV Bag would be fine, and we would mostly look to it as having, like, good opportunity for a reroll pedestal. Ace of Hearts, and then this is Strength. I think... Work with me on this one. This is your play, I think. If you want to ascend a true... Ooh, that's really good. If you want to ascend a true Galaxy Brain status, I think that's what we wanted to do right there. We will be happy to see the Eternal Heart. Because of restock, we can pretty much just execute the same play over again. until this pays out with something. Mostly at this point, and this is not going to come as a surprise, but mostly at this point I want our speed upgrade. The HP is definitely not worth nothing. And the luck upgrades may pay dividends later, or may, as is often the case, prove to be completely useless, but... even if we only get 2 cents out of this, and we're missing out on Potato Peeler here, or Fanny Pack could have been a nice little enabler for this as well, but we could pretty much afford to do this all day, so I am not sweating that at all. We will take this. We did get the speed upgrade, and, you know, missing out on those, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Are you Balls of Steel? Nope. Not at all. You know, one of the weird things about having Twitter open in the background while you record a video like this is whatever people tweet you, like the feed auto repopulates based on people replying to you, right? So right now, I almost gotcha. Right now, as we speak, somebody has tweeted a GIF of me dabbing, and I just have to, with my peripheral vision, look at myself dabbing in the background. It's I feel like an NBA player taking a free throw, and then like the home team fans are trying to psych me out. I'm not embarrassed by the fact that I dab. If anything, I'm a very dab friendly individual. I'll tell you, I dab because it makes other people angry. And it's not an ironic dab. It's more of a, 'cause I've been there, you know, when I was like 17. Oh, you just died, Mama Mega, I suppose. When I was like 17, the things that 12-year-olds did that looked cool to them looked extremely lame to me because I was not 12. But once you get like one generation ahead of that, you're like, oh, I got a really easy way to annoy people who are slightly younger than me, and that's hilarious to me. And that might seem petty, but you know, you gotta make yourself laugh. I did make a tweet, maybe, this is probably like 2 or 3 years ago, that was like, I'm embarrassed that people my age are like so violently opposed to the dab, but for months after the release and popularity of Dark Souls, they went around like doing the praise the sun gesture to each other in public. Oof. Oof. That's gotta hurt. I'm a big fan of the Fortnite dances, too. I know we've said that we've gone on this exact tangent before, but forgive me for being nostalgic for live sporting events. It has been a long time, right? But I always was just bizarrely kind of dumbfounded when people were like, I hate when you go to a sporting event and they put these kids up on the Jumbotron and they do Orange Justice. Why? You know, they normally, back in my day, a cough, 300 years ago, they put a kid up on the Jumbotron. What does he do? I don't know. The Macarena. Or he just kind of like waves his arms around a little bit and goes woo. Seeing these kids Orange Justice, that takes real talent. That's real talent and dedication. They practiced for the Jumbotron. When I was a kid, we just kind of jumped up and down and hoped we'd get on the Jumbotron. And yo, I mean, I don't know if anybody else out there can relate to this bit of Canadiana. Getting on the Jumbotron is one thing, but if you did something at a game that camera people noticed, and then you got on like TSN Sports Center the next day, like, look at this guy! That was like, you got so much street cred in the 5th grade, like that could carry you to high school prom king, basically. That's 10 years of goodwill. So there was a real impetus there. You know, you might as well re-roll it and grab this. I'm proud of the younger generation for learning the Fortnite dances. I tried a couple of times, you know, even flossing. You look at flossing, and you're like, that's easy. I did it for like 2 seconds, and my brain was like, I've gone cross-eyed, dude. I like a Fortnite dance. That's why, like, I'm always a little bit annoyed when people call me a boomer, because, like, quite frankly, I don't have that many boomer opinions. Not to mention, I mean, I am 30 years... too late to be considered a boomer, but I'm actually like, I mean, I'm on TikTok. I'm very tolerant of the of the generation below me. Or 2 generations below me, I guess. And here's the thing. When Zoomers call me a boomer, I accept it. Because that's the circle of life. You are the young generation driving youth culture. The millennials are no longer that. We're in our, late 20s to late 30s. We're just adults now. We're in the positions of real power, but you guys choose the memes. You guys control the meme marketplace. And that's not braggadocious, because we were in the opposite position, not but 7 or 8 years ago. And I guess, to be fair, millennials don't really hold the positions of power, but I'm just saying, we're working our way up just merely by existing. But when another millennial calls me a boomer, I get very annoyed. Because I'm like, you don't get to choose that. If the Zoomer calls me a boomer, that's acceptable. They're the arbiters. Like in Halo 2. Never noticed how similar those items looked there. If another millennial calls me a boomer, I'm like, I get it, you're jealous. Sorry. Did I do that? I think the younger generation is pretty cool, And admittedly, I'm getting a pretty skewed perspective because I only know it from TikTok. I think they're making some mistakes, but millennials made some mistakes when we were that age as well. We made nu metal and rap rock the most popular genre of music for 6 years in a row. What were we thinking, dude? And I was like, if you asked me in 2003, I'd be like, the Beatles are pretty good, don't get me wrong, but they can't hold a candle to Disturbed. Or even worse, the one that's even more unconscionable is all the bands that got heavily inspired by Nirvana, but were much worse. No offense, Puddle of Mud. I think you got some jams, to be honest, but, I can tell who your inspirations are, let's put it that way. If you were like, hey, who's better? Nirvana or the Canadian band inspired by them called Default that had one song on the NHL 2004 soundtrack? I'd be like, look, no disrespect to Mr. Kurt Cobain, but, I mean, come on, how are you supposed to compete with Default? It's not possible. They're a supergroup. So when I see, the younger generation trying to cancel Robert Downey Jr. because he played a character in Tropic Thunder that wore blackface, I'm like, you should really watch the movie. Because, it's not, you really, I feel almost like I don't even need to explain it, because, it's self-evident in the movie. But you should really, not just look at a screenshot for the movie, you should watch the movie. Because he's playing a dude who's so full of himself that he thinks it's okay when it's obviously very clearly not okay. And that's part of the movie, It's like he knows. But then I'm like... Anyone else here the same age as me? Probably at least a few thousand people. I've had as a teenager, how many times I had the conversation, especially after Canada legalized gay marriage, and I was like, me and my friends were like, huh, that's history's last great injustice. Now that we've solved all social problems, and plus we're looking pretty good on this climate stuff, I wonder what will come next. Little did we know. We'd barely even gotten started. So the younger generation, they're very they're concerned about stuff like that. Stuff like that when I was 15, 16, 17, I was not just unconcerned, because I don't think that's really fair, but just completely ignorant too. I got high hopes for this generation. Dude, I'm so hopeful for millennials. I don't want to get into this generational warfare stuff, but I'm so hopeful and optimistic that my generation, because every generation at the end of the day, 100 years after their, creation, they get boiled down to one sort of philosophy, right? And the generation, the silent generation is the Great Depression. And then, you know, the greatest generation is like World War II. And then baby boomers is like, you know, I don't know. We're still riding that legacy, I suppose. I'm not trying to be rude, but ignoring climate change and destroying the property market and telling my generation to stop eating so much avocado toast if they ever want to own a house. But right now I'm scared, dude. Like, Gen X is grunge. I don't know what the Zoomers are yet. Right now it's Fortnite, but they're only like, you know, 10 to 21 years old. So I'm not saying that's going to be a long-term legacy. But for millennials right now, the legacy, and other millennials, we got to accept it right now. And we're all doing our part to change it, I'm sure. But the millennial legacy right now is the word adulting. And I'm so upset. We got to do something. Have I ever said I hate adulting? I probably have. It wouldn't surprise me. I have done some very soft boy stuff, even in these episodes. Like, for example, complain about, you know, oh, making a phone call makes me so anxious, you know? Look, our generation, we grew up with some interesting conditions, don't get me wrong. Hold on. We have one guppy item. I haven't been focused on this run at all. We've just been bantering. I do not see a cat-based item in there. With our luck stat, we definitely want this. I actually think we can afford to reroll that. I think that's way better for us. I've evolved as an Isaac player. I'm unstoppable now. You know, we did, you know, maybe our parents got affected by the dot-com bubble in 2001. And then, you know, we went to college because everybody in my generation was like, hey, if you don't go to college, you ain't got a chance. And then we went to college and it was, you know, way too expensive. By the way, I'm not trying to steal valor here. Most of this stuff was smoothed out for me because, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. My parents paid for my collegiate experience. So I'm not trying to be like, we've got it so tough, right, guys? I'm just instead having sympathy for the people, you know, for the average case in my generation that went through this. Not trying to, you know, get in on the pity party. But then, you know, on top of that, student loans. And then on top of that, graduated into, or in the conditions surrounded by, the 2008 recession, of which none of us really had a hand in creating because we were all, you know, teenagers and students when the bubble was created and popped. And then, you know, get out into the job market, and as the economy starts to recover, wages don't really grow in relation to the cost of living, and simultaneously the older generation is like, you just can't work with millennials, really, because they're always like, they can't go 3 seconds without looking at their telephone. Which ironically has really become inverted. I really now, when I think about like the older generation, I'm like, man... Anytime I see a 50-year-old, they have their glasses around the tip of their nose and they're scrolling through their phone. You might think that's offensive, but really, that's also what I look like when I scroll through my phone. Maybe that's why I get called a boomer. However, you know, after that, you know, maybe started to establish a foothold while simultaneously recognizing that the dream of home ownership for many people in our generation, depending on where you choose to live, is completely dead. And whenever you bring it up, people just go, well, I bought a house in 1971 for the price of a VCR. I had to make some sacrifices, though. You know, I only bought the 2% milk instead of full-fat milk for 6 months. And then, you know, now we're in the middle of also the pandemic on top of, you know, a looming recession again and massive social unrest, at least in, you know, North America and Western Europe. So, like, we got our reasons, okay? We got our reasons, I understand, to be a little bit mentally neurotic, but we can't let that be our legacy. We got time. We still got time. We've barely started adulting, okay? I don't know how we do it. Once we're the generation that's, like, in power, we get a chance to rewrite our legacy a little bit. So just bide your time. We'll get there. I'm not trying to be mad at my own generation. It's quite the opposite, you know? I'm more just like, I don't want my great-grandkids to be like, oh, great-granddad, he was a millennial. And everyone goes, oh, I get it. He was too anxious to pay his bills because looking at his online banking made him nervous. I don't know, man. How did we end up in this conversation? It was started as such a... I mean, I still think it's a positive thing. I do think that every generation kind of looks at the generation that comes after it and gets, you know, uppity a little bit. But it's weird, because, like, I'm not... I don't know. I kind of feel like the generation stuff is nonsense. I feel like generations skip a generation. And I'm not a demographer or, you know, an anthropologist or whatever, so I'm basically just talking out of my beehole right now. But I'm like, and if you're in this age group, don't take this the wrong way. But, like, I feel like people who are, like, 10 years older than me, I get along with pretty well. People who are, like, 20 years older than me, I struggle with. People who are 10 years younger than me, so people who are, like, maybe 22 right now, we don't have that much in common. But, you know, well, it's kind of weird. I was like, well, I get along with my nieces really well. They are, like, 9 years old. So I don't know if that's really fair to base a sample size on your family, but I don't know. When I talk to, like, a 25-year-old, I'm like, we look the same age, more or less. Don't take offense to that. You're probably not bald yet. But one of these days, when we all hit our 50s, we're all gonna have the same egghead. And I'm gonna pay back the bald jokes with dividends, dude. Sure, I'll take Epiphora. I'm like, for being so close in age, why do we have so little in common? Like, you're always talking about SpongeBob SquarePants. And then, you know, when I make a reference to Wolf Parade, you're like, oh, that's the band my older brother likes. And I'm like, we're from different planets. We're aliens. Then I talk to somebody who's like, you know, well, it's not like I make a habit of going around talking to, like, 10-year-olds. But, like, on TikTok or, you know, even when I talk to my nephews and nieces that are a little bit, you know, maybe they're in high school right now, I'm like, we have more in common, in a weird way, just because we have nothing in common. Does that make any sense at all? Probably not. Like, when I talk to somebody that's just a few years younger than me, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 years younger than me, it's like we went to the same high school in parallel universes, you know? Despite having so much overlap temporally in our lives, we have different experiences. It's a strange feeling. Maybe I'm a little too neurotic about it. Whereas somebody that's like, you know, 20 years younger than me, I'm like, I don't expect us to have anything in common. So when they say yeet, I go, haha, yeet, you know? I don't go like, what's this yeet thing that I never experienced when we're the same age, but I don't know what I'm talking about, dude. Dude, bring back the hard Isaac runs. This morning, I have no ability to banter out of the ether. I'm just talking nonsense. Dude, maybe millennials are right, dude. Adulting is hard. I would love it if the millennial legacy was killing bad chain restaurants. I think that's probably number 2 right now. I could live with that. If they were like, well, the millennials, all they knew how to do was drink wine and complain, but at least they killed Applebee's. I think I could accept that. I could accept that being my legacy in life. Kind of. Alright, this is a weird one. We gotta audit this. So, Deadeye is extremely good. Sad Onion should be fine. Quad Shot, I think I'm gonna pass on it. But Parasite is great. Not just the film. Although I don't know if Parasite even works for us there. We will also take Coneheaded. So the zany play is you take Quad Shot and Libra. But I think the realistic play is a full reroll here. That turned out extremely good. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? So we're in an amazing position, as you can tell. That doesn't mean you should really be throwing away as much HP as we're throwing away, but it is what it is. That's going to really impact our range. I actually, believe it or not, I think that lower range might actually make Epiphora a little bit better. I don't know if we have a tighter spread on the splash, but it's interesting. I mean, Epiphora on this one, I still think it's a sometimes item. Just like Cookie Monster said that cookies are a sometimes food. But I think on this one, it did really well for us. And that's actually like 2 or 3 runs in a row where Epiphora has been solid. Oh, come on. That's totally my fault. That's what hurts. So in a weird way, I'm kind of like, you know what? I think maybe I was too hard on Epiphora when it first got added to the game. But this is an easy cruise, and I gotta tell you, 55 wins in a row is very exciting. If you had asked me, and we're not there yet, but we're kind of like in the ballpark of the streak that we lost 2 months ago. We're not there yet, but if you had asked me, like, hey, you just lost your streak, what are the odds that you get a 50 streak without losing another one? I probably would have said the odds were like 5%. Historically, after a loss, tend to lose a little bit more. But you know what? I'm very proud of my performances, even though some of them were a little bit uneven, for sure. We have, you know, had the mental resiliency to get back on the horse after we got knocked off, and you know, it's paying dividends now. We got a good thing going on here. We got a lot of momentum, and you know, we got the kind of confidence that breeds competence. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!